Thank you all for being here. Um, in some ways, the last couple of weeks have been defined by my spinal surgery, which is, just part of the human experience, the desire to prolong comfort and ease in the world and mobility and functioning. And it's been a really remarkable uh, 2 weeks on many levels. And so I'm going to share it with you because I think it has things to teach. The first thing I want to describe is something that goes back a ways, but it is something I've talked about before, but I think it's interesting. When I was working at the World's Fair as a kid, still at NYU, and I was selling hot dogs and hamburgers and beer, there was an exhibit from Johnson's Wax Pavilion called a movie called To Be Alive. And I would sneak off to watch it. The first time I saw it, um, I was watching this movie, which is about a three-screen movie that you sit down downstairs, then you're lifted up into this big eggshell experience, which is kind of weird but amazing. And there's one screen in the beginning that starts showing about people waking up in the morning, and then it expands to masses of people everywhere waking up in the morning. And it's a exploration of the world waking up, and then it goes on to show a whole day in the life of humanity. And at the end, it just says, to be alive is a wonderful thing. And every time it said it, I would break into tears. So every lunch that I had, every opportunity I had, I would go back to Johnson's Wax, sit down and watch this film. And every time I would cry because the idea of to be alive is a wonderful thing hit me watching the whole world being one experience, basically waking up, having a day, going to bed. Years later, in a kind of what I called a miraculous experience, I'm working for the man who made that film, Francis Thompson. I don't know how I got that job. And I was expressing to him how much I loved the movie. And he said, well, come. And he set up the movie in his three-screen projector in his office. And I had a private screening of To Be Alive. And I mean, the emotion of it was so extraordinary. I can't describe it. It's just so beautiful. How did I ever go from seeing it as a kid working in a World's Fair a bar kind of thing into a person working in the movie business with a man who made that movie. And then for my 70th birthday, my son Josh took me on an extraordinary surprise journey to Minnesota. And I didn't know why or where, what we were going to see or what we were doing, why we were there. But as we were driving our car, I suddenly saw Johnson's Wax come up. And I discovered that they had retaken that entire exhibit and rebuilt it on the Johnson's Wax grounds. And I was being taken by my son for a private screening of that film. So the reinforcement of that to be alive experience was so exquisite and such a gift from my son and a completion even. And even the president of Johnson's Wax wrote to me and said, I'm so glad we could give you this experience. So certain kinds of continuities in life are amazing. And the experience of feeling to be alive is at the core of what I am describing. And then the night before the operation I was having, Josh and I went into the city, and it was really crazy because the highway we take was completely blocked, and we had to drive to New Jersey to go down to New York City and then go back to the hospital. And it was like really difficult. But we were not going to go to the hospital that night. We were going to the theater to see a play that had been foundational in my life that they were performing on Broadway called Our Town. I don't know how many of you know the play Our Town, but if you don't, it's worth reading. It's worth finding it on any place you can online because it's one of the great American plays by Thornton Wilder. And we ended up, because of the problems of travel, and having 1 minute before the play started, we got into our seats and we sat down and the play began. Not a perfect production, I will say, but didn't matter because the play is so strong. And it's mostly a way of looking at the world through a certain kind of objective eye that is so moving. And the eye is of the narrator of the show who stands on the stage from the beginning and narrates the entire play. And and he starts to talk about the people in this one little town that Grover's Corners. And as he talks about them, he's talking about the newsboy. He says, "Well, you don't want to pay too much attention to him because he's going to die in 5 years, and he's not going to be part of the story." And it has that kind of overview that's so amazing that it senses time as being an impermanent thing. He knows the future and he knows the past, and he weaves it together in this beautiful tale of a couple that come together, fall in love, get married, have a child, and then the woman, the wife, who we've seen as a little girl, who we've seen dating the man she marries, the marriage itself, and then we see her as a dead person. And as a dead person, she is allowed to have this moment. Every dead person, I suppose, is allowed, although the dead people around her who are on stage say, don't go back, don't go back. And she wants to go back. She's given a day in her life to return to look at the world that she has left behind. And she picks a day, which is an innocuous day, her 12th birthday. And she walks into this space. Now, I've seen many productions of this show, and most of them, the set is constant. It's pretty barren, it's pretty simple, it's pretty innocuous. But in one production I saw some years ago with Josh, uh, everything is innocuous up until the last moment when she goes back to her house to revisit her house as a little girl, and suddenly everything comes back. The stoves, the cupboards, the tablecloth. It's so detailed. It's so enormously detailed and so beautiful. And so you go back into this house, and she's standing there looking at herself as a 12-year-old and remembering the detail of that life in a way she never knew when she was little. Never. And she has this experience. And in this play, I will tell you, the first version, that version I described a minute ago, the woman, the mother starts to make bacon. And they actually grill it on the stage. So the whole auditorium filled with the smell of bacon. It was like, oh my God, you were right there with her. And even in this last show I saw, they did the same thing with the smell. And you have this moment that I got in the movie to be alive. And it's the message that Emily, the girl in the show, gets, which is what an amazing thing to have a day in which she just simply wakes up and has breakfast, and it's a day of her birthday. What a day. And she's overwhelmed by it so much she almost can't bear it and can't stay in the world. She's touching how alive it was. And now she's going back into the realm of death with an awareness and a knowledge of what it means to be alive. So I bring all this up because I go into the operation with memories, of course, of the play, and of course, because I've had a long spiritual life of daily meditative practice, that I've always witnessed this sense, but more and more in my later years, of what Emily has experienced. Only I'm having the experience of to be alive while I'm here every day. It's just really beautiful. And I go into the procedures to get ready for the operation. And I have an experience like I've never had before, which is they lay me on the bed that they roll through the hallway and they bring into the operating room. And they put me next to the bed I'm going to be transferring to have the operation. And I'm going, oh, I have to get up out of this bed and I got to move onto that bed and do all this stuff. And usually they move you onto the bed and they give you this shot and they say, okay, count down from 10 to 1. And you go 10, 9, 8, gone. You're out of it, completely gone. And this time, I'm lying on the bed, getting ready to be transferred, and the next thing I know, I'm in the recovery room. And it's like not only did it wipe out the experience of being in the bed counting down and the operating procedure counting down, they wiped out previous to transfer into the bed. I don't know how they did that, but they played with my brain in a way, and I started to feel like life can do that, that it's wiping out parts of my life, more and more parts of my life, and you don't miss them at all. They're just wiping out, they're cleaning the slate, they're giving you a kind of a easier view of the whole picture of your life. And I woke up from the procedure which was a, I mean, 4 hour operation. So it had durability, and I had to go through all the recovery stuff, which was not totally easy for me. But I have never felt more joy, more love ever. And I've had a lot of joy and love. And I'm lying there and just like, I love the nurses. I love everybody who's coming in the room. And it doesn't stop. I'm transferred into my regular room where I'm going to be staying overnight. And people who come in are the most wonderful human beings, the most caring, loving people I have ever met. But everybody was like that. Everybody. And then I'm being prepared a day and a half later to go home, and I'm starting to walk very well in the hallway, and they're celebrating my walking, and I'm hearing people yelling and crying and screaming in other rooms because they're in so much pain. And my heart goes out to humanity and the world because I realize what an unbelievably difficult journey this is for everybody. But for some reason, even though I'm somewhat in pain, it's not horrendous, and I'm feeling alive, but I'm also feeling awe for all of what we are in. And I cannot tell you how big it is. And my son Josh is waiting for me, and he signs me out and gets me in the car, and we drive home, and I go home to my wife. And I've talked about loving Blanche before, but and I don't think it can get bigger than it has, but it does. It got bigger. It got bigger. And then everything got bigger. The carpet on the floor made me almost cry. It was so pretty. And then you have to walk every day to start recovering. And the walks are painful, but every step was amazing. And everything I saw made me feel like, thank you for letting me witness this in my lifetime. And it just has continued, is continuing to this moment. It is continuing. And I'm not saying that it is going to stay or last. Nothing seems to last in this world. Things go away. I've had moments of it starting to kind of fade away, and I go, but, and then it just suddenly returns like it's like, what's going on here? I don't even kind of understand it, but it's there again. And it feels like the underlying truth of life. And the feeling I've been experiencing, which I probably best described, and I talked to Blanche about it, was the moment where you're just falling asleep. You're just falling asleep, and you feel, if you're aware, this sense of just, come on, we got you. It's this feeling of falling off and just being willing to give up everything and fall into this place of comfort and protection and love. And then we do it every night, every night. But this is the same exact feeling all day long, falling into the feeling of being held. And I repeat this to you not because it's my experience. My sense is it's all of our experience. That's my sense. And I've been having these amazing dreams. One of them was a house in which all the windows were covered with paper, like just regular, paper that they were ready to be removed. The paper was ready to be taken down. There were new windows. And so I started taking down the paper, and the light started flowing in. And what I understood was this was my body being removed. The paper was my body being removed. I am being taken, that they're taking away the fabric, the outer coating of my being and all of our being. And what comes through is a window of light. And I'm talking about every single one of us, that when the time comes, the paper starts coming down and the body starts giving way. And there's pain in some of it, I have to say, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it matters because it gets your attention, but you keep letting go of it. And I think at one point it gets a lot of your attention. If you're nailed to a cross, it really gets your attention. But then you find your way. You find your way into the last piece of paper being pulled off that window, and you're just light flowing, just light. Or as I've spoken about in recent terms, the word radiance. You're just radiance. It's pouring through all the time. And that radiance is something that is in place in every human being. And the journey into leaving this world is a journey into radiance itself. That is what I'm experiencing. And it is so potent. And again, I don't know. You can all say, well, God knows you've had all these drugs, on the operating table. And I go, yeah, maybe this is all drugs. But it's 2 weeks now, and I don't think the drugs are still in place. And I didn't even take the pain pills. I just went with Tylenol. So I'm just feeling the need to share with all of us that the the road we're on is definitely impacted by drama and difficulty and all of the things that make life sort of complicated and sometimes insufferable. But but you have these alignments. My son Joshua gave me the alignment going to the experience of watching To Be Alive in Minnesota, and then taking me to see my life, and then remembering the incredible weaving tale in both of these stories of what an amazing thing it is to be here in this world, to be on this planet, and to be going through this journey. And if you're in a place where it's nothing but struggle and suffer and misery and all of those different sort of components that can make up life, I can only tell you one, if you sit still and you ask for help to surrender, you can begin to work out of those spaces. If you do it regularly over the course of your lifetime, you begin to create an avenue of transmission that moves you further out of that space and allows you to bring light into the world as well as into the space you inhabit. And the difficulties and the struggles and the miseries of your story start to go away. But you have to make an effort for that to happen. It doesn't happen by itself. And if you look at the world, and most people who don't try to do that, I'm just judging, I may be wrong, but if you don't try to do that, you just get caught up in the web of everyday drama. And part of what I'm experiencing in this last 2 weeks, which is kind of extraordinary, is that life isn't anyway what we think it is or how it appears to be. I cannot find the words for this, guys. I don't know how to describe it, but it's a cartoon is the wrong word, or animation is the wrong word, or special effects, or AI, or something. I don't even know how to even begin to get at it because it's so real and so emotionally viable and important and extraordinary. But it's also none of that. It's just none of that. It's much more dream centric than we understand. It is something that is happening every instant. And I'm starting to become aware that every moment counts. And they put that on the poster of my film, My Life. But it is absolutely crucial that every moment, every single absolute moment is holy beyond understanding. And pay attention to the moments because they are part of this vast whole that is speaking to us in ways that we don't hear. And when Emily goes home for that one birthday celebration, she sees the power of the day, of life. And it's beautiful, but I'm trying to tell you, it weaves down into how you take your glass of water, where you put the cup. Do you put it in the drainer? Do you put it in the sink? Do you wash the dishes? Do you pick up the thing that fell on the floor? My feeling is do it all and follow this thing. And I'm finding there's a directive. It's not a do this, do that. It's be aware, be present, do what is in front of you. That's all it is. And I'll never forget the day I'm walking with Rudy down the street. I've told you the story 1,000 times. And there was a piece of trash on the ground, and he bent down and picked it up and he threw it in the garbage. And I went, Rudy, why did you pick up that? And he looked at me and says, Bruce, if it's in front of you, it's yours. And I've said this to you a billion times, but I'm telling you, I've never felt it more in my life than I do right now. If it's in front of you, it's yours. And if you do it and respond to it in the right way, you are in harmony with, you are dancing with, you are part of the joy and the unbelievable unfolding of what it is to be alive. And it is miraculous beyond belief. And I can only tell you from these 2 weeks, it's more joyous than anything I have ever imagined. And I have had a good imagination and I've had an amazingly good life. So, what is starting to pour through right now, this radiance really, which is not Bruce, it's not me, It's just being an, an opening for something extraordinary to pour through. And every one of you who think you're separate from me are the same. you are you are a vehicle for radiance to pour through into the world and shine on everyone around you. And what happens is it's magnificent. I had this experience when I got home from the hospital of people calling me and having talks with them that were I to die tomorrow, I completed everything. Everything got said, and each of us knew it. Somehow the talks were like completions, perfect, absolute, articulately wonderful moments of everything we needed to say to each other in this lifetime. And they followed day after day, and I was going, wow, wow. And I keep wondering, am I going to die? This wasn't that kind of operation. This nothing went wrong. I'm not feeling like I'm going to die tomorrow. No, I will throw out for a moment that I'm aware of worldly environments and I'm aware of political environments and I'm aware of the magnitude of change that I think may be occurring for all of us. And we'll talk about that as weeks go on. And that's another part of what I'm experiencing. I'm experiencing the worldly drama, both political and environmental, and that's a big thing, and it kind of impinges on us. But does it change the joy? No. Does it change the need for radiance? No. It means we have more and more, I'm going to say responsibility, but maybe just opportunity to be this extraordinarily exquisite presence that fills the world with our consciousness, our kindness, our generosity, our gratitude, our love, and our light. That's what we are. That's who we are. And if you're engaged in that, this is going to be as magical for you, I believe, as I'm experiencing for myself. Who knows? I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know the truth of everything, but I will only tell you I'm a reporter right now, reporting from 2 weeks post an operation that somehow created this amazing thing that wanted to get said. And so I've said it. I really love you guys. I love you for appearing here. I love you for being part of this. I love you for making your effort to be one with something that is flowing in a way that is really incredible. It's yours to digest, to eat, to consume, to have, and to digest on a daily basis and just find the wonder in what we're going through because this is not a mistake. This is not an accident. It's not by chance. It has something exquisite pushing and blooming and growing through us into its own creation. We are the creation. We are the part of the creation that the Creator made, and be grateful to be in touch with that. It's exquisite. Okay. The end. um, I don't know. Does this bring up questions? I don't know. Sal.
From the sounds of it, it seems like our practice is a lot more than just being about accumulating as much energy as you can.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's not about accumulating. It's about being a vehicle for it, and every drop of it. Meaning, when you're with people in your car and you're driving, you can flood that space with presence. You can do it verbally or you just emotionally. Just fill it with space. They will walk out of your car wherever they go, and they will transmit that same thing to the people they're with and the people they're with. It's not rocket science here. It's quite simple. There are people who are angry who you can suddenly make happy with like that. There are people who are suffering who you can touch and they go, and it just changes the environment. It changes the world that we live in a real way. And if you're lucky, yes, I got to make movies that kind of did something like that. I'm not sure it's a bigger scale exactly. It's the same exact thing. We just do it. And I find my just doing it with Blanche every day because we're not sitting in a big social environment usually. It's the two of us. But the radiance that goes back and forth, I have never witnessed anything like it in my life. It can be just between you and one other person or you and multiple people, but your energy as a spiritual being, someone who's worked at this, is go out into the world. And I think I've described this because it sounds so stupid, but I'll do it again. Um, I'm told often in the middle of the night to work the world, to send energy into the world. And I go, really? Really? But I do it. And I use my mudra work, my hands a lot. So my hand goes up like this, and I feel, I cannot even describe it, rays of light going off into the atmosphere. Where they go, I have no idea. Is this real and meaningful? I have no idea. But do I feel like I'm connected to some amazing force that fills me with joy like I've never been able to talk about? Yes. And it's just passing through me, and I'm just doing what I'm told. And off it goes, off it goes. Who it touches, how it touches, I have no idea. But we can do that. We can just sit quietly. And our meditation isn't just to make us happy, it's to fill the world with that stillness and that peace. It's really a beautiful thing if we do it. And, you know, I can't instruct you on what to do. You find your own direction. Everybody is directed by something much greater than Bruce. It's this Bruce thing is just one voice out of billions, and all of them have equality. And this thing works through people in its own way, sometimes through darkness, sometimes through configurations of tension and drama and all that stuff. But it's trying to break through into this opening. If you don't break through in this lifetime, then I suspect, maybe we go back to school. You come back again and figure it out again. But you might as well figure it out now and graduate. That seems to me to be worth doing. But if you don't, I don't know if the larger structure cares. It just keeps working itself into a place of awakening. And this is a school. And so wake up. Long answer to a quick question. Sorry. Anybody else? Too many. I talked too long. I really do.
Bruce,
I'm sorry. Who's just spoke?
yeah, Lonnie. Hi, Bruce.
Lonnie. Hi.
I want to thank you for holding class. Greatly appreciate giving your time. I just want to comment that I read your or listened to your audio book 3 times. And I can't remember the last time I even read a book, but I'm so moved by what you wrote, the content, how you managed to pull from your life like it happened yesterday is just mind blowing how you did it. So I just want to thank you for putting out something so incredible. And I will call you later on and hoping to be able to when you're available to come up and spend some time with you.
We will spend time, I promise you. And thank you. I mean, I don't know many people who've listened to my book 3 times, so kind of extraordinary, and I appreciate that. And I mean, in the course of this year, I think having published that book may be the signature element of the year, and I'm so grateful it's out there because it relieves me of having to complete anything. So like these talks are like they're like extra blooms on a flower on a bush. I'm just glad the plant exists, the talk exists, the teaching, which is Rudy's teaching, has managed to move into the world, and that it keeps happening. I don't have much more to add to it except for kind of the whatever the thing it is now that I'm doing when I talk to you. But it feels like maybe excessive, but also maybe necessary. So I can't judge that. When the screen is empty and I turn on my computer to teach and none of you are there, then I will just be me and Blanche and however that plays out. But anyway, the fact that you're here means so much. The love is amazing. And if you can feel the depth of it, it can be transformative, truly, for every one of you. So transformative. Just drink it in, take it with you, and you will change your life and all the lives of the people around you. I promise you. I think we're done.